Today we're going to go through the new web app editor, so we're going to have a quick demo of that. So this is your start screen. You don't see much here. You have your logged in name and just a sign out button. So first we're going to create the project. So we're going to create a React project, and we're going to use the TypeScript template. We always recommend to use TypeScript because that's what the language server works with. You get auto completions and stuff like that when you have a strongly typed language. So I'm just going to call this demo TypeScript template. And then OK. And now we're creating the project on the server, and it's also installing some Npm modules. So this is the project. You have your file explorer here with your filter. Create new file, new folder, same here, rename, delete, and import. You have your settings view, which is the application name, description, the entry point that the Webpack will use to compile or transpile your project, and some local Git settings. Compilation details, what are the actual compiled results of your app, but we'll get back to that later. We have your Npm modules. These were installed from the package.json that came with this template. It has some predefined modules like bubble core and React and things, and some types modules to give you type hinting in your project. Project search. See a preview, we'll get back to that. Just close all tabs, and we have a terminal. We'll also get back to that a bit later. So let's first, in this package.json, we'll add a new dependency. So we'll just go here and we'll search for material UI npm, and we'll install the latest version of material UI core, which is now 4.11.0. So we go back to our package.json, and I'll just do add material UI core, and I'll install, what's the version? It was 4.11.0. We'll save this one, we'll go to our npm view, and we'll click install. And this will now update all my modules in the package.json. So it's added 24 packages. Let's see, and here we have material UI core. This view will also compare the versions that you actually have installed and what the version is in the package.json. So you see now in this view everything matches. For example, but you see also that this is different from this, but that means that it's it means install the greatest minor version, and for bubble core that's 7.10.4. But if I, for example, had this in my package, And I'll just open it again to refresh it. You'll see now that the version doesn't match anymore. Let's put it back to 7. Have to unlock it. 774. And then just refresh it. You can see that now the version matches again. So I have installed Material UI Core. I'll go to my File Explorer, and then in this source folder, I'll unlock again. I'll add a new folder. I'll call it Components, and I'll add a new file called mybutton.tsx, which is the file ending for React TypeScript files. Okay. So now I have a clean file. The first thing I want to do in this file is import React from, and if I here press Control Space, I'll get completions, and now it will list all my installed modules. And what I wanted here was React. I also want to include Material UI Core. I'll just leave that empty. And then I was at Material UI, and let's see if it's Core. And the thing, I want from Core, it will list all exported members of Material UI Core. Here I want button class. So I'll go ahead and define a class, which is my button, and that class extends React component. And also again, if I autocomplete or get completions inside here, it will list all members of React components. And the one thing I definitely need is the render method. And that has to return something, so I will return a button. And for now, I'll just do this. Now this class will return a button component. And I also have to export it, and I'll also export it as the default from this file. Export default my button. Like so. This my button, it has it should do something. So if I go inside this button, and again if I get completions, it will list all properties of this button. And one thing that's almost always used with a button is the on click event. So I'll do like this, and we'll just make it pop an alert. And then my button pressed, like that. We will also include one last thing in this component, and that's an interface, which we will call my button props. And this interface has one property, and we'll call it button text of type string, and then we'll add that here, telling the language server or the type hinter that this button requires a property button text of type string, and then we'll show that property here. So then we have a nice small little React class. Doesn't do much, but a little bit. So then I'll go to app.tsx. That's not the entry point. The entry point is index.tsx, but all that really does is render the app component on the root element, which you can see here in public index.html. That's just a div with ID root. So back to my app component, I will just add my, first I have to import my button. Let's see, import my button from, and we can use completion here. First it will list all the modules, but I want it relative to this file. Then if I, there it is my folder components, and there it sees my button. And I'll place this button here. My button. I don't need to read an end tag here. Yes, we'll do that. My button. And no, yeah, no, actually we don't. So we can just do like this. Let's see, but the type hinter language server is telling us that something is wrong here, so we can hover over for some quick information. And it says no overload matches this call. Button text is missing. Yeah, because we said that my button needs the property button text. And we'll add some button text. So we'll just say this is my button text. Like so. And then we will compile the preview. So now it's compiling. Done compiling, no errors. So then we can either run the preview here. See, this is my button text. If I press it, I should get an alert saying my button pressed. And we can also show the preview here, inlined, like so. So the biggest feature of the language server is the get completions part, which I've showed. But the language server also provides diagnostics, as we saw. If I remove this button text, it will say button text is required. One other feature of the language server is signature help. So if I go to source again, and then I'll add a new file, and we'll just call this utils.ts, which is a plain TypeScript file. We'll create that file, and in this file I'll create a function which I'll export. I'll just call it my function, and this function takes 3 parameters. Let's just call them prop1, which is of type string, prop2, which is of type number, and then prop3, which is of type an object, which again, and that was supposed to be a comma, and prop3, it's an object which has a string and b number. And we'll also say that it should return a number. Like so. Yeah, and now you see the diagnostics again. It underlines the return type because currently the function doesn't return anything. So let's say I'll just return a number, 0. We won't really do anything here. I'll just add some comments. This is my function. And then we'll want to use this function in a different file. Let's say I want to use it in my button. So first I'll import it. And then I have to import it relative to my button. So I'll step 1 folder up. And there it is. And if I do get completions inside here again, it will list all exported members of that file. So my function. If I was then to call my function and add it, I'll get the signature definition or the signature help for this function. It says that prop1 is a string, prop2 is a number, and property 3 is an object with property A, which is a string, and property B, which is a number. And as long as I don't actually provide those values, the diagnostics provider will say that something is wrong. Expected 3 arguments, but got 0. Let's say then I'll pass in 3. But this is still wrong, because argument type 1 is not type string. Let's make it a string, and then this one is wrong because that's not assignable to a type object with a string b number. So let's just do like this: a1 and b is a number, and then everything should be fine. So then we have completions, we have diagnostics, we have signature help, we have quick information on hover, and that's basically most of the language server features. Yeah, there is more. There is, if I right click this one, I can select to go to definition, and then I'll jump to the definition of the function. See, I can also go to references. It will pop a window and show me all the places this function is used. This gets more, if you have a function that you use many places, that's more relevant. I can quickly show you that. For example, I can open my own project, which is the web app editor itself. That's also made inside the app editor. So for example, if I have, let's try and find a function that's used quite a lot. For example, this handle IX error is probably used many places. I can peek the references here, and it will list all the places and all the files this function is used. And then I can also edit this file inside here. I can double click and jump to the file. And also, let's go back to the demo TypeScript template. And there is also one more thing. There is format project, but also just format this file. Yeah, and I have to unlock it, of course, and then I'll format this file. So that's most of the features of the language server. And as I compile the preview, I can go to my compilation details and I can see the compiled assets. In development, nothing in production yet because we haven't compiled it in production. So let's do that as well. And there are the compiled assets. In production, it won't show you the index file in production. Okay. So let's move on to the Git integration. As you can see here, there's like this blue line across the entirety of my file. This line shows you the delta in the file relative to Git head. But at the moment we haven't added anything to our Git repository. It is initialized when you open a project. So we can go to the terminal down here in Git, and this is like a lightweight Git implementations. So we have some commands. It's not all the commands you have in Git, but you have git status, for example. It will then show all the untracked files. And you see here nothing is committed or added. So let's add these files to the staging area. And then you git status again. And now they're all added. And now I'll commit them. I'll call it init commit. If I go to git status again, it should show me on branch master, nothing to commit. And you see now that the blue line is gone, because that shows the diff or relative to git head. So if I now should add something in this file, you can see now these two lines are new. And I'll just add a console log just to write something. I'll do one in my button, and then I'll also do one in app. Like so. If I go back to my Git window now, I'll see I have two modified files, source app tsx and source component my button. And then I can git diff, and I can see what has changed in these files. So let's say now I don't want that console login in my button. Let's just do status again, see the actual file path. Now I want to check out the file in source components. I don't have to write the entire bit. I can just do like this. But let's also just open that so we can see the file changing. Boom, and it goes back. If I give git status again, I'll only see changes in the app.tsx file. If I add again, let's save status, and I see the diff, and then I can just check out everything because I want nothing of it. Like so. In settings, you'll have your Git settings. I haven't connected this to a repository yet, so let's do that and then push it to a Git repository on GitHub. So I'll just start a project. I'll call it demo type script template. That was the description. I want a name, and I'll create that. And I'll just take the URL. I'll add that there, but I'll also need a token, so I'll open my app because here I have a token. And go back here, unlock it, add a token, go back here, and now I can push. And now my project is on GitHub. If I just reload this.